record as saying that this bike and the ZE1 are not mainstream bikes. They're not the bike that I was hoping for, but this is a good first look at what Kawasaki is doing with their electric bikes. For most people, this isn't going to have enough range for everyday use. It's not going to have enough speed for everyday use. But again, we can see where Kawasaki is going with a bike like this. And what I'm going to do is take a look at all the features in this that make it unique. We're going to give you sort of an inside look. We're going to take a look at the batteries. We're going to show you some of the modes, walk mode. It actually has reverse as well. And all of that is going to be done in this video to give you an example of what this bike is all about. And maybe one day down the road, what a bike like made for this more mainstream would be all about. So I'm filming here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, Jim Gilbert Power Sports, the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country. And like I said, they've already sold the ZE1. They have the Ninja E1 here. So if you want it, make sure you use the link in the description. Reach out to them because these things do go quick. There aren't a whole lot of them. And again, this is more for that early adopter type person, someone who maybe wants a collectible, something that you can drive around town, or something that you can keep for a long time, and sort of look at Kawasaki's first step into the electric world. So make sure you reach out to them. If you have questions, make sure you let me know in the comments below, because I can come back to this bike again and again as long as it's still here, and we'll keep going on and making more videos to answer your questions. Let's go with this review. So normally in this part of the video, I take the bike and I kind of just put it in its class and kind of explain sort of how I take a look at it and what class I place it in, and you may place it in different classes. But before we do that, let's just be clear about some of my background. First of all, I've done vehicle videos long before this YouTube channel came out. I have a lot of EV experience, and I'm on the record for years now, over a decade, talking about EVs, saying that EVs are for some people, they're not for other people. I happen to drive a couple EVs. I even have an EV dirt bike, so I've got some experience in the class. But again, I'm in no way forcing you to have an EV if it's not ready for you. And like I said, for most people, this isn't going to be enough. And we'll talk about why some of those things is maybe not enough to replace your regular motorcycle. We'll talk about some of the reasons why in this video. But overall, one thing I have with experience driving an EV road bike, which was the Zero SR, whatever it's called, this street bike from Zero, is I found that bike had great acceleration, but very poor handling. And at the time, I was going back and forth between that Zero and my Kawasaki Versys. That's the bike I happened to have at the time. And going back and forth between those two bikes, the Zero, again, very good acceleration, no shifting, that kind of stuff is kind of cool, but it didn't handle very well. And every time I went back to my Versys, it just had a much better handling feeling than the Zero that I drove back in 2019 was probably the last time I drove that one, or the first time I drove that one, I should say. So this bike, for me, one of the cool things about it is Kawasaki knows how to design a bike that handles well, and that's part of the fun with this bike. Everything about it, you can tell, even from looking at it, is designed to handle well. And that's one of the exciting pieces of this, is it's going to be a fun to drive small vehicle, but it does have some limited use. So let's take a look at some of the things that make it unique as an electric motorcycle, and talk about some of the alternatives, just to give you an idea of what's going on here and what might go on in the future with Kawasaki's electric vehicles. So let's start by taking a look at the front wheel of this bike. And the front wheel is sort of where I start on a lot of bikes, because it gives you a perspective of what the bike is sort of designed for and what the manufacturer's intent for this bike is. And you have a couple interesting things here. So first of all, you've got the full disc brake. It's all motorcycle quality, lightweight wheels as well. The biggest difference you're going to see compared to other motorcycles is the front wheel is fairly small in the width department. Now that's 100 millimeters wide instead of 120 would be a super bike, 110 would be the Ninja 500, which is the similar size to this bike, but again, this bike is different. So what that does is a few things. A little bit narrower wheel. Generally, you see narrow wheels on a lot of EVs in general, just for a little bit better mileage, a little bit less wind resistance, road resistance, whatever it is. But the bigger thing you're going to find on this bike is a narrow wheel will allow you to go side to side very quickly. So it's going to be quite flickable as a bike, going side to side, because not just is the front wheel a little bit narrower, but the rear wheel is a little bit narrower as well. So that's the big thing you're going to find, just taking a look at the front wheel overall. Another thing you're going to find here with the Ninja EV, we'll just scroll up just a little tiny bit. You can see that Ninja name. You do have full LED lighting, including, just like the rest of the Ninjas, you have a the signal light built into the bodywork here. So on the Z, you saw it sticking out on a stock. Here it's built in the bodywork, just like some of the other Ninjas in the lineup. So kind of a cool thing. Let's look at one more EV specific thing before we really dive into the real specifics. So taking a look at the Ninja compared to the Z, the EV of both of them, The Z, you could see the battery pack. It was a box kind of buried in here. I can still see it through the wide opening holes here, but the Ninja gives you a lot of perceived width here. So again, it gives you that more sport bike styling. It's going to give you a little bit of wind protection, weather protection, but a lot of it's just styling. So it's quite hollow here to go from here to the battery, but the battery is in here. So motor down there, battery in here, and it's actually 2 batteries. We'll talk about that in a second here. On the Ninja, you can't see it because you have that classic bodywork. And of course, being an EV, it doesn't have an exhaust. So no exhaust, no weight down here, anything like that, and no exhaust out the side. So again, that all leads to something that is very, very light. And a lot of people are surprised to find out exactly how light this bike is, because it is just 309 pounds with the battery in. So that would be like a wet weight. So ready to go, 309 pounds. That is significantly lighter than any other road-going motorcycle from Kawasaki. And a lot of times you hear about, in the car world, EVs are significantly heavier. In this case, this EV is significantly lighter than anything else Kawasaki sells. So one of the unique things about an electric motorcycle is, in theory, they can style this very, very different. In fact, this here, although it looks like a fuel tank and it's familiar when you're riding, I'll show you me sitting on this in a second, in a couple minutes here to show you what it looks like. But you don't actually need this section here because it doesn't have a fuel tank, so therefore it doesn't need this space. What you have instead is a storage space in here that you can use that is lockable, and below that you have the battery packs here. There's 2 of them there. We're going to talk about these in just a second. But first I'm going to show you sitting on the bike just so you have a general idea of the seating position here, because it is a motorcycle and not a scooter or something like that. And then we'll talk about these batteries and how they work. So a lot of people, when they hear about the lightweight of this bike, they think it's a very, very small motorcycle, but you can see here, it is a compact motorcycle. It's similar in size to the Ninja 500. It's not the exact same. A lot of people think that it's the exact same feel as the Ninja 500. It is a little bit different than that. But you can see here, I'm about 6 feet tall, so fairly tall individual. Seat height is low, so no real issue if you're shorter than me to fit on this. But you can see even at 6 feet, fully comfortable here. And again, the tank gives you that familiar feeling. It very much feels like a sport bike, and it puts you in a position with a slight lean here to be in a position to easily.
Now I could take these turn signals off of this and put it on that, but I mean it's got turn signals on that brake light, so maybe I don't need these. But I really think that signaling is a big thing on a bike. People should really see your signals good. I don't know. Maybe that's good enough. I don't know.
Roll forward and we'll go 5 kilometers an hour forward. So you can see I did quite a bit. I'll go backwards again. Watch my wrist if you can. Hopefully I'm still a shot. Yeah, we'll go back a little further. My watch is my.
Maybe that's enough.
I'm gonna give it full throttle with walk mode here. Nice and easy.
But I could always put some little LED lights on there. The little smaller ones. Or I could actually use those. But now I got I ordered a bracket for the tag.
And you're not standing across the bike, you will send the bike off on its own, and that can be, it's like the bike is in gear essentially. So there is no real true neutral when you're in that walk mode. You touch that throttle, you're going forward, you're backwards, you're going backwards. So it's kind of a cool thing to help move it around. Again, it's not a heavy bike to move around, but as you look at Kawasaki's,
I mean, I can make a bracket for the tag.
When they're more mainstream bikes as well, but it kind of makes some sense, and that's kind of cool. And again, complete silence. So kind of cool mode there. There it is with me on it.
Now, obviously, this ain't my tag. This is something I cover up my tag with when I do videos, even though I forgot a couple times.
So I mentioned the battery is in here. Now there's something unique about this. If you get a Kawasaki accessory, you can sort of plug it in behind the seat here, and you can charge both batteries on the bike. You just have a little attachment that comes in through here. So you do have both batteries on the bike, can be charged. Now if you take them out, you have a charger that comes with the bike. Again, this little attachment that allows you to charge on the bike is an aftermarket Kawasaki accessory. If you buy this bike, I encourage you to get that, because being able to charge them both on the bike is just convenient. It makes sense. To me, they should probably include that, but again, it's up to them what they do. So having the batteries on the bike is sort of a typical thing, and I think as you get to bigger and bigger batteries, you won't have removable batteries. But now that this one is a smaller battery, they do allow removable batteries.
Oh man. Okay, so I'm really excited about Still haven't finished this pack yet, but I'm working. I'm definitely getting it done soon. And that's crazy because I'm actually been working on other batteries in the house. I got a little battery spot where I work on batteries in the house upstairs, but I don't film up there. So that's why, you know, normally I'm trying to get those batteries knocked out for people, so I don't be feeling like working on my own battery. But I do want to say this. I really think that that video of me doing that little highway run, I think that is a really good testament to just how damn good my packs are, to be honest. I mean, how many other bikes have you seen get on the highway? I mean, you've seen bikes get on the highway, but can maintain high speeds at over 60, 65 miles an hour average for that duration. You know, that's one thing about mid-drives. Not all mid-drives. The big boy mid-drives like they put on these electric motorcycles, obviously they're made different. I think they got fan cooling and stuff on them, but you know, the little small mid-drives, like I always used to hear a lot that Surons couldn't ride at high speeds for long distances. You know, just the motor itself. And I mean, obviously the packs can't sustain that, but I'm not even sure about the aftermarket pack. So somebody got to show me, just like they made me prove my packs. Yeah, I want to see some of them packs do that. But anyway, yeah, that's it. So I think that worked out pretty good. Let's see, what else can I get started on?
Disconnect yourself, manually charge the others. So if you can charge on the bike, that to me makes the most sense for most people, but you've got the flexibility. Let's take a look at the dash now. So using the same key that I used over here for the battery area, you can put that in the ignition, so it's all a one-key system. And you can see on the Ninja here, you have a lot of body work kind of around there. Again, the Zen is a little bit different that way, but the technology is all the same. Let's zoom all the way into, there we go.
My little stand.
TFT display here, there is a little bit of glare on there. The TFT displays are pretty good in real life for being very, very visible, but when you
don't have a lot of room in here when I'm trying to film.
One of the things that you have to do here is you have to raise the kickstand to put it in any of the drive modes. So for instance, the walk mode has more of a beige screen. I can show you that in just a second here. We'll have to just readjust the camera. But when you start up like it is, the throttle is dead. You can see it's in neutral. So neutral doesn't have gear shift, but neutral basically is showing you, hey, if you touch the throttle, it's not going anywhere. Now you do have to hit the start button. If you can hold down that start button on the right side, just like you would a starter, like a start button on a regular motorcycle, the e-bike will go into a drive mode, but it's not going to do that right now simply because the kickstand
Let's
is
see,
down.
let me move this for a second.
For the battery, so it's a comfortable mid-range temperature right there. Left side battery, right side battery. So again, you can drive this with batteries at a different state of charge, but you can always see that battery gauge on the side. Information down below, you can cycle through here. You've got your average kilometer per kilowatt hour, your range in kilometers. You've got your sort of distance, so this is an average kilometer right there. And then on this side button here, you've got trip A, trip E, and the odometer down at the bottom. So some information down there. Let's take the bike off the kickstand now and show you a couple of the other features in the dash. Alright, so I've got the bike next to the tripod here. I may get a little bit wobbly with the bike here. I'll do my best to hold it steady. So now I can hit that start button because the kickstand is up. And we're going to see a few things. So hold down that start button for a second, and you can see the drive mode come to life. So you've got D there for drive. Right now I'm in the road mode. I can switch that mode to an eco mode. We're going to talk about what these modes mean in a second as far as range and speed. But there's also an e-boost button. We'll show you that button in a second. This e-boost allows you for a few seconds of extra power and extra speed, And you can tell how much, because this bar graph will go down. So when you run out of that extra time, extra speed, that bar graph will decrease, and you'll know that you haven't used that e-boost. So again, that is a limited for a few seconds, full speed. We'll talk about that in a second. So eco mode and road mode are your only two options there, but there is a walk mode. Once you switch to walk mode, the entire dash changes color. Hopefully for the yeah, it's a little bit sort of brownish, orangish, whatever. So walk mode says F and R. Again, that depends on how I roll the throttle. If I roll the throttle sort of like a regular motorcycle, it's going to go forward. If I roll it just a little bit back, it's going to allow it to go back, and it goes in reverse. And then of course, if you switch the mode again, if you do anything like put the kickstand down, which I'll do right now, without hitting my tripod, hopefully. Oh, I'm gonna hit my tripod. Nope, I don't. No, you don't lean it away. Oh, I'm gonna hit my tripod. There we go. Kickstand down, it's instantly in neutral there, and you're going to turn the lights off as well. So let's take a look at some of the controls now, and then we'll talk about some of these modes and how they work and how they're uniquely programmed for Kawasaki. So left side handlebars, very typical Kawasaki stuff, except there's no clutch lever here at all. There is a little trigger button here which can flash your high beam. That's very typical on most Kawasaki, certainly all the Ninja lineup will have a little flash capacitor. You have high beam and low beam, you have a signal light, switch right there, all typical motorcycle stuff, horn button there, and then you have a mode button. Press it forward and hold it for walk, otherwise just cycle through for the mode button for the road and the eco mode. So typical type controls there, just a little drive mode button, and again, you see that walk mode button there. Other side is where there's something a little different than you would have on a typical motorcycle as well. Let's just show you that. So over here on the throttle side, they don't recycle parts. The only other start switch and kill switch built in together is usually gray on things like the H2 that we reviewed the other day, the Versus 1000. What else do we have? The Ninja 1000 SX has a sort of single piece button. There's other bikes in the lineup that have a similar piece, but this one's a red one. The start button there, kill switch there. So again, pretty typical stuff for a motorcycle, pretty familiar stuff. This is that e-boost button. So just, you don't have to hold it, but just touching it once unlocks those few seconds of extra speed, and that's how you do that. Let's talk about speed and range now with this bike. So range and speed, for me, is the piece that makes this bike not what I had hoped it would be. And again, for many parts of the world, this is perfectly fine. But for North America, I think we were all hoping for that Ninja 400, Ninja 500 electric version, and that will probably be a future version with some of the same technology that's in this. But let's talk range and speed, so we're fully transparent about what this bike has. First of all, in road mode, this will go 88 kilometers an hour. I'm going to speak in kilometers an hour because it's a Canadian bike. I'm a Canadian filming in Canada. Canada's #1 dealer. So 88 kilometers an hour in road mode. It will slow down to a top speed of 64 kilometers an hour in the eco mode. Now, one thing worth noting is that about 30% battery, you won't have full access to road mode. So it will cut your speed back to try to make sure it gets you home. But so while it will give you extra range at slower speeds, it is something worth remembering. So road mode 88 and eco mode 64. Now, if you are in road mode and hit that eco or that e-boost button, that e-boost button is going to give you a few seconds of max power. So in road mode, hitting that e-boost button, you're going to go up to 105 kilometers an hour as a top speed, and watch that gauge drop. Once that gauge falls out of, once that gauge drops on that e-boost gauge that we showed you earlier, then that's it for your e-boost for a while.
Alright, my bad guys, I had to stop and do something. But anyway, that is what it looks like with the tag delete. Kind of hard to see when I'm up in here, but that is the tag delete. John probably see it a lot better when I got this thing outside. So anyway, we working. It's getting a little dark out there. But yep, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna start working on this hall sensor. I guess I'll be making another hall sensor video, or maybe I'll save that and do a live stream on that. All right, y'all, deuces, we out.